Good morning and welcome to our presentation. We are Electric's Prism. Our team consists of Andrea, Hannah, Juliana, Lauren, and myself, Beatrice. Our meeting objectives for today are to show the government's current methods of communication, present our updated project design, and to discuss future updates to the project. To meet these objectives, we'll be going over what we've accomplished so far, our initial concepts, our current product design, and future considerations. Our project was to create a new microsite for our city, which streamlines the way citizens access relevant information and communicate with their elected representatives, identifying the functionality that is the most important to the widest array of citizens. From our first round of interviews, we found that current government methods of communication are clunky and confusing. We heard from one of our interviewees. I was really annoyed because I had to go through a lot of loopholes to find the information I was looking for. I just wish that there was a place that had it all available. Users just want information to be easily accessible and clear. Since we want our product to have an impact on the widest array of citizens, we surveyed the current landscape to identify what relevant competitors were doing well and to find the biggest areas of opportunity. We placed them amongst each other on a 4-square graph to measure the density of information expanding from low to high on the y-axis, and to further understand their scope ranging from wide to narrow on the x-axis. Through the course of designing our product, our direct competitors were cityofchicago.gov and Chicago City Clerk, which both cover a wide and dense scope of information. We also added City Tech Collaborative after a second round of interviews, which provides a narrow but dense scope of information. Indirect competitors were Chicago Councilmatic, which focuses on city council matters, and My Reps, which focuses on contacting elected representatives. Both of these cover a narrow and low density scope of information. Last but not least, our out-of-scope competitor, who we reviewed as inspiration to our design, NerdWallet. We resonated with the progressive disclosure design of their card comparison feature. Based off of these competitors, we saw an area of opportunity to follow in Chicago Councilmatic and My Reps' footsteps, to cover a narrow and low density scope of information, focusing on a different sector of the government. This brings us to the next question. Who is our user and what have we learned about them so far? Based off of initial research, we built personas to represent typical users within the permit and licensing space. We thought that business permits would be our focus, but a second round of interviews revealed that parking permits were the most used resource with the most frustrations. This research guided us to focus on a single persona. Let me introduce you to Braden. He's a new college grad just moving out of the dorms. He needs to purchase a parking permit because his new apartment doesn't provide parking spaces. Braden is frustrated by the complexity of zoning rules and the financial burden of permit renewal fees. He's in a rush to secure a parking place, but is disappointed by the lengthy parking processing times. What he needs is a simplified means of understanding parking regulations and a transparent explanation of all requirements in the application process. To avoid any extra fees, he's also looking for accurate information on the duration and expiry of his permit. I'll now hand it over to Andrea to cover the guidelines we created as a team to solve for Braden's needs and frustrations.
Thank you, Beatrice. Braden McKay embodies the audience we identified as part of our opportunity space. In alignment and focus, we will define this space, outlining the main obstacles needed for potential users. Based on the first round of research, we consolidated findings to create a problem statement, followed by design principles, which served as a guide of exploration in our concepts and finding for our team to unravel potential solutions for our users. Let's direct our focus to the problem statement. Residents of Chicago, whose goal is to research and obtain permits and licenses, need a digital tool to help clarify and guide the approval process because current government resources can be ambiguous, making it difficult to identify the necessary steps to achieve their goal. To guide our efforts in creating a compelling solution for the area of opportunity, we refer to our design principles. They were written from the perspective of users like Braden to help us identify their needs in mind. First, give me credible info ensures that all information is in line with industry standards from official sources. Let it be fun transforms a typical boring task into an enjoyable experience by adding personality and empathy. Help me understand but don't overwhelm me addresses the frustration of these users who feel burdened by the density of information they must navigate through. We aim to provide a consistently simple platform to avoid information with cognitive load. We proceeded to create 7 concepts. Amongst the ones that we tested, we saw that access to accurate information, clear outline of the process, a simple eye with progressive disclosure, and the ability to look up address and zip code within the zoning map or the commonalities within all of those testings. Furthermore, testing taught us that users want consistency, predictability, and a streamlined process. Hannah will now take it away to dive into how we use this information for a prototype.
Thank you, Andrea. Based on the feedback from our concept testing, we were able to determine which capabilities would be the most impactful for our potential users. These capabilities became the foundation of our converged design, adding to the guidelines we developed through previous research. Our design is grounded in education, reflecting the goal of our problem statement, to provide users with clarity and guidance as they navigate the parking permit process. Our educational concept was created to address users' frustrations with inconsistent, overwhelming information. It was well received for its simplified explanations of the permit process. We applied this idea to our first prototype design by limiting the displayed information and using a straightforward organization. This design can easily be adapted to evolving government regulations, fulfilling our third design principle by providing credible, consistent information. Users were also frustrated with the volume of information they were forced to sort through, and they needed a consolidated source that would help them find the more essential information. The simplified layout of our courier service concept resonated with users for this reason, because it guided them to only the information that was most relevant to them. This was carried over into our prototype in the form of progressive disclosure, which we applied across the site as a whole. The complex information is nested within action buttons, gradually revealing all the necessary information within each directed task of getting a daily pass, finding a zone, or beginning the application process for a residential permit. We found users were also looking for information that was specific to their individual needs. Many expressed a desire for some form of guidance to ensure they met the necessary requirements. We created a find an expert concept to provide this guidance. It was unsuccessful in testing, but users appreciated how the search by zip code feature helped them quickly achieve their goal by customizing their results. In our prototype, this concept extended beyond location into a driver's license form field, streamlining the process by applying the user's information to all subsequent steps in determining their eligibility for approval. Complex zoning rules were another recurring point of frustration with users. They were looking for clarity on the boundaries of their residential area and were uncertain if information was kept up to date with the most recent changes. Our drop-off box concept wasn't successful as a whole, but the map included in its design was praised for its potential to help users easily find the appropriate location. This capability was incorporated into our prototype in the form of an interactive map that showed users the current borders of their zone, lending context and predictability to the typically ambiguous parking regulations. Now we'll hand this over to Lauren to discuss the usability testing of this design.
Thank you, Hannah. Hello. So we wanted to test these prototypes, and so we did. And our requirements for testing was that they had to be a Chicago resident who was looking for more permit parking information or city stickers. We sent out 6 users and gave them scenarios that would ask them to use the U-permit. So find information on parking permits, purchase a daily parking pass, or find your residential zone. With each task, we homed in on performance and preference metrics. And let's take a look at some of the highlights from our first round of feedback. This is our home screen, and it was just the right amount of content. Users felt good about what was presented to them and when. They were able to follow a process that has moving parts with grace and with just a couple of clicks. What if I want to find my zone or a zone? So originally stating find my zone, users wanted to be able to see other zones besides their own for various reasons, such as maybe a move or perhaps an out-of-town guest. What is a permit portal? I don't want to be transported to another dimension. There was no real clear explanation of what that was, so we need to refine that as Here is the permit portal page, and by submitting my state driver's license, I can renew a purchase and daily permit online. Users liked that because it was all streamlined online. I have my ID, why can't I just get a daily pass? Due to city regulations, not everyone is eligible for renewing their permit or obtaining a daily pass online. And we explained this in our FAQ, but it could have been easily missed if they had just gone to their permit portal. And finally, still sure not what a permit portal is, so. So some new ideas formed after testing, and we decided to just take action and iterate the prototype and show you today what that looks like from our feedback. All right. So let's walk through this together. You can see on the home page that we have 3 main access points, and permit portal has been demythed by renewing residential parking permit and finding a zone, find out more information and get a daily parking pass. Top nav has the FAQ and permit portal page in case other users are more familiar with the site and want to access it from any page. So let's go ahead and find a zone. You can enter in any address, and it will generate the zone here with a map and the rules of that zone. And say I want to find out more information. How do I exactly get a permit? So I want to learn more, and it looks like it's broken down into 4 simple steps. So users are prepared on what they need to bring and where they need to go. Finally, let's get a daily parking permit. So users enter in their driver's license or state ID, and right here, official government ID determines eligibility of all permits and daily passes. Your information is automatically generated here with your zone and the steps here that's going to take that process. And how many daily passes do you need? Let's start with 1. So your information is automatically populated, what you're getting, credit cards, and you can upload your valid ID and proof of residency, and this is going to be reviewed by the city clerk's office. You can see what's in your cart and go back and edit, remove if necessary, and submit. So this means everything is in review, and within 2 business days, you can check your email about your status. So right now I'm going to hand it off to Juliana, and she's going to talk to you about some future ideas.
Thank you, Lauren. As we conclude our presentation, we will go over our product roadmap and future suggestions before we hand off this project. So let's go over what we have accomplished in the past 4 weeks. We started the project by talking to users, asking them to share their experience with their Chicago government. We analyzed that data and we found the biggest need was on parking permits. From there, we created concepts that were tested on users who have gone through the process of applying for parking permits. With that data, we created a low fidelity prototype. We tested our prototype on even more users, and from there we made iterations, which gave us our current product. If given more time on this project, our first priority would be to focus on building out the renewal parking permit flow. We didn't have time to complete concept testing on this particular function, so if given more time, we would like to go back and do more testing. All of our users stated that they wanted to be able to do things with their permit online, and based on the success of our other concepts, this would just be a continuation of that. Our second priority would be to completely build out the function of finding an office. This would be a quick win since users already stated that this is something that they want, but for this version of our prototype, we did not have time to do this section. Our third consideration would be to explore the ability to book appointments at City Hall on UPermit to make the process of going in person a more seamless experience instead of spending long hours in a waiting chair. Again, with our limited time, we were unable to incorporate this into our concepting. However, our users shared frustrations of past experiences, of going into their local governmental offices and waiting for hours just to get a parking pass. This would help address some of that wait time. Lastly, we would ultimately like to completely digitize the parking permit process. This would allow users who have a busy schedule to get their parking pass completely online. We heard from all users the pains of finding time on their weekends and even taking off work just to simply get a parking pass within their zone. Since this is a regulation set by the government, this would be something that we would need to get approved and implemented into various governmental levels, but we would like to continue working with the government on this. We would like to thank the City of Chicago for allowing us to be a part of this project and taking the time to be here today. We would now like to open the floor for any comments or questions and ask a few questions of our own. How satisfied are you with the results of our current product? Did we adhere to the quality level you were expecting? Do you feel confident moving forward with the project? And do you have any questions about our process or research?
Thank you.